Hey there team, welcome to Adding Mixed Numbers with Unlike Denominators Part 2, and we're going to look at questions like this. Let's say you've got 3 2/5, right, plus 2 1/3, and you can see that these denominators, 3 won't go into 5, nor will 5 go into 3, so we're actually going to have to find a whole new denominator, and that denominator will be 15, and we're going to look at how that happens right now. So let's go! Hey, what if you had 3 1/5 plus 2 1/3? And like we said before, you actually can't put 3 into 5, and you actually can't put 5 into 3. Now you are going to have to make common denominators out of these fractions. You cannot add 1/5 to 1/3. You are going to have to make them common denominators. So you're going to have to find a number that 5 goes into and that 3 goes into, probably the lowest common multiple, So what's the number that 3 goes into, that 5 goes into? Let me tell you, it's going to be 15, okay? Let's make the common denominator 15. So how does 3 go into 15? Well, 3 times 5 goes into 15, doesn't it? Now, whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. So 1 times 5, of course, equals 5, okay? How do we get from 5 to 15? Okay, well, 5 times 3 equals 15, doesn't it? And remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top. So 1 times 3 equals 3. So what we are saying here, guys, is that 1/3 is exactly the same. 1/3 is exactly the same or equivalent to 5/15, and 1/5 is exactly the same or equivalent to 3/15. So our question now becomes 3 3/15 plus 2 5/15, which is easy because 3 plus 5 is 8, so that's 8/15, and of course 3 plus 2 is 5. So our answer is 5 8/15. Okay, well, let's have a look at another example. Okay, here we go again. Look, 6 2/5 plus 8 1/7. Now let me tell you right now, 5 does not go into 7. 7 does not go into 5. So we are going to have to find a common denominator that is not 5 or 7, a number that 5 and 7 go into, and usually it's found by timesing them together. That's the quick way to do it. 5 times 7 equals what? Hey, can you work out a number that 5 goes into and that 7 goes into? What is the lowest common multiple? What is the number that 5 goes into and 7 goes into? And here's a hint. 5 times 7 will probably give it to you. Right, I wonder if you got the number 35. I wonder if you got the number 35, because 5 goes into 35 and 7 goes into 35. We know because 5 times 7 equals 35, doesn't it? So, by the way, 7 times what equals 35? 7 times 5. So that gives us a 35. Remember, with fractions, when you're making them equivalent, whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So 1 times 5 equals 5. Great. Now here we go. 5 times 7, okay, equals 35, right? Remember, with fractions, whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So 2 times 7 equals 14. Now, just review there in case you got a little bit confused. Maybe you're wondering, how did we get from 1/7 to 5/35? How did we get from 2/5 to 14/35? Well, I'm just going to go over it one more time. Remember, we had to find a number that 7 went into, that 5 also went into, and we chose 35, because we know that 7 times 5 equals 35. We know that 5 times 7 equals 35. And whatever you do with fractions, whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So we times 7 by 5, right, we need to times 1 by 5, which is why we got the 5. We times this 5 over here by 7, which means we've got to times this 2 by 7, which means that's how we got the 14. Okay, so now we've actually got some equivalent fractions. Look, we have got some equivalent fractions here. We have got, right, here we go, be patient, 1/7 equals 5 over 35. It's the same. 2/5 equals 14 over 35. It's the same. And now we can add these together. Easy peasy. Look, so the new sum is 6 14/35, right, plus 8 5/35. which is easy to do because 14 plus 5 is 19, right? So that's 19 35ths, right? And 6 plus 8 is 14, so the answer is 14 and 19 35ths. And I don't think that you can simplify that at all. I think that's it in its simplest form. Okay, let's give you a go all by yourself. Here's your question. Here it is. 3 1/4 plus 6 2/5. You're going to have to put 4 and 5 into a common denominator. They won't go into each other. You've got to choose a whole new number. One that 4 goes into, one that 5 goes into. Pause me and have a go. Right, I hope you pause me. And I hope the common denominator you chose, the lowest common denominator, was actually 20, because 5 goes into 20 and 4 goes into 20. I know they do because 4 times 5 equals 20. So 5 times 4 equals 20. Great. So 2 times 4 equals 8. Hooray. 4 times 5 equals 20. Great. So 1 times 5 equals 5. So 1/4 equals 5 over 20. 2/5 equals 8 over 20. Right, now we can actually add these fractions together because we've got equivalent fractions with common denominators. They're 20ths now. So the sum becomes 3 and 5 20ths plus 6 and 8 20ths, which equals, well, let's add the 20ths first. So that's 13 20ths plus the whole numbers. That's 9. And we can't simplify that any further. Okay, I hope that's been helpful. We've been looking at adding mixed numerals with uncommon denominators, and we've actually got to go and find a whole new number when we're going to make a common denominator. We can't use any of the existing numbers that are there. Okay, thank you very much.